เสียงมองไต้หมอหลังผู้ต่างเอ้ยพี่น้องไต้โทกกันโมนขึ้นซื้อจอกเปลี่ยนใจกันเฮาเจอเฮ็ดสั่งก็แห้งเด้อพี่น้องไต้พร้อมเพลงกันต่อสู้สุดปานพี่น้องวันเมืองไต้เฮาเมื่อสุนเสกำคาเรียกเมืองไต้ลมเฮาเมื่อสุนเสตานอคือไต้เฮาดื้อสุดกันเป็นลมดังหายเป็นลมวันเมืองคืนเดินจับซอยเฮ็ดว่าเปลี่ยนใจเปลี่ยนเป็นลมคือไต้เฮาคนเปลี่ยนเพิ่นเฮ็ดเฮาไต้แหล่งคือปน
ดูกันว่าคาริน อาร์มสตรองบุตรให้เป็นนิวยอร์กBest New York Times bestseller นะเพิ่มขายดีเมืองอเมริกันเมืองคิดนะเป็น bestseller มันได้ขายเพราะมันป้าหรือเพราะมันได้ขายหนังสือเพื่อนเนี่ยคาริน อาร์มสตรองนั้นเป็นนายข่าวคริสเตียนมันกูบอกนะมันขึ้นเมื่อเดือนแรกมันจะขึ้นทับขายเป็นครูดีชั้นสองลอนดอนเบิร์กแบ็คคอลเลจมีฮิมสวายนั้นมันสอนรีจินทั้งหมดมันเตรียมรองอิสลามเลยบอกในจุดในสู้กันเตรียมรองคริสเตียนบอกเป็นยอมรับทำรองผู้เฒ่าสับเป็นยอมรับเพื่อให้เขาดูด้วยนะเราดูด้วยนาฬิกา14 next เอานั่งตั้งนะนั่งก่อนดูด้วยทีมเงาครั้งที่บอกว่าซึ่งone copy to Sam have you got okay is from we are going to read a book called Buddha by Karen Armstrong, who was a former Catholic nun. And this is New York Times bestseller. We are going to start with page 94, second paragraph. We can start with Jakujita and we can go like this. Each one, just one paragraph, and try to identify the issue. Just read the first paragraph. If you think you don't get out understanding by reading the first sentence, then you can read the second. No, not the second, the last sentence. Okay, Jakujita, you can.
Next, the Buddha outlined the Four Noble Truths: the truth of suffering, the truth of the cause of suffering, the truth of the cessation of suffering or nirvana, and the path that leads to this liberation. The path that led to this
liberation is past tense. So what does it say? What's the issue here?
The Four Noble Truths.
Okay. She talks about the Buddha's teaching the Four Noble Truths. So the Four Noble Truths, as the Buddha's teaching, this is the issue that's taken here.
The Pali text tells us that as he listened,
as he listened
to the Buddha's sermon, Gordanya, one of the five bhikkhus, began to experience his teaching directly.
What does it say?
The realization of the experience of teaching. When Gordanya experience of teaching.
Yeah. He started experiencing the teaching directly. This is to say that he became enlightened. So So the next sentence, next paragraph.
But the Pali text includes another version of his first teaching sermon in the deer park.
The deer park. Is it clear to you if you read only that much?
Not fully. So it describes a much longer and quite different process.
Another version.
Of teaching.
Can you go to the last sentence?
At all events, the Pali text tells us not longer after the Buddha, the Dhamma rose up in Kodanya, Wapa, Patiya, Mahanama, and Asaji became stream enters too.
Stream enters.
Stream enters.
Yeah.
Another, I think the first teaching session in the deer park, another version of the first teaching.
What does it say?
From the first sentence, the Pali text include another version of the sermon teaching, another version of Dhammacakka.
That may be the case, or that may not be the case, but we have to go through another paragraph to see, without reading. Okay, another paragraph.
The reasons, formulations of the Dhamma was complementary to the practice of meditation, which enable as aspirants to realize it.
What does it say? The reason formulation, which formulation of the Dhamma? Can you go to the last sentence?
The change traces the life circle of a sentient being through tribes conditions.
Which one is the last sentence?
It should be regarded. It should be regarded.
Is there a law which links rebirth with dukkha?
I think your first attempt may be correct. The chain traces, because when you look at the quotation, he put the word on. She put the word on as O capital, and there's no before that there's no semicolon. This is to say, she doesn't quote directly, but she uses the quote to put it in her own style. So if we regard that, and the following one, this chain became central to Buddhist teaching. If we regard those two as one paragraph, and the chain traces the life cycle, that should be the last sentence. So by reading that last sentence, what do you get from there?
Showing how each person is perpetually becoming something else.
The chain traces the life cycle of a sentient being through 12 condition and conditioning links. 12 condition and conditioning links. You have to read together. Conditioned and conditioning links. 12, okay. Conditioned and conditioning links, illustrating the transitory nature of our lives and showing how each person is perpetually becoming something else. So what does it mean? This paragraph, what is it talking about?
It talks about the dependence, interdependence of the words.
Yeah, the interdependency of the the phenomena of life. And she called it the recent formulation teaching. She called a formula. This is a formula of 12 links. A formula of 12 links between the conditions and the conditioning. The conditioning is the cause. The conditioned is the effect. Okay? She put the effect, the 12 conditions and conditioning links. So this paragraph talks about Patijassamuppada. And the next one?
This chain became central.
The terms.
The term used in chains are rather obscure.
Obscure, she says. What does it say? What she's going to talk about? What do you think she's going to talk about in this paragraph? She's going to explain the terms. She's going to explain the term in the Patijassamuppada, the dependent, interdependent law. Okay, and the next one?
The chain begins with ignorance, which thus becomes the ultimate, if not the most powerful cause of suffering.
Yeah.
We talk about the cause of suffering.
The cause of suffering. Earlier she explained the term. It must be selected terms because just now she's talking about ignorance, which is the first in the link.
So here she used the term chain to refer
Yes.
to Patijassamuppada.
Yes, the chain. The chain, the link, she used two words. And the next one, you can see the chain, she used it as a technical term with capital C. Next.
There are no fixed entities in the chain.
There are no fixed entities in the chain.
There are no fixed entities in the chain.
In the chain.
In the chain.
So fixed entity is what people believe in Judaism, in Christianity, in Islam. There's a fixed entity, such as soul, which is created according to their belief, and which is going to reunite with the Creator sometime later. But we don't have that. We don't have fixed entity. Instead, we talk about a process of change. Okay, next one.
The 18th century Scottish empiricist David Hume came to a similar conclusion, but with an important difference. He did not expect his insight.
He did not. It's very good when you read, okay, to also pronounce every syllable. Like he did not expect.
He did not expect his insight to
affect
the moral conduct of his readers.
What does it say? This paragraph, in brief, what does it say? What's the issue here? What's the statement?
This did not affect it decide to attack moral conduct of readers.
That's only an extra information. That's only an extra clause. It's not the main clause. The main clause is the 18th century Scottish empiricist David Hume came to a similar conclusion. That's the main one. What it says that what this paragraph says is the author is going to make comparisons between the Buddhist teaching and David Hume's teaching. That's the big picture that we have to have. I have been talking about a bird's eye view and a world's eye view. A bird's eye view here is that, okay, now comes a comparison. The author is going to compare. So first we have to have this broad view, this overview. So the next one.
Another, like any Buddhist teaching, was not a philosophical doctrine, but was primarily pragmatic.
Pragmatic. What does it say?
Another is pragmatism.
Yeah, the pragmatic teachings. We didn't know what the author was comparing between the Buddhist teaching and David Hume. But when we read this one, anatta, like any Buddhist teaching, now she begins with the word anatta, meaning the word anatta is all information already at this point. This is to say, in the previous paragraph, she has already discussed about this. And by reading the first sentences now, you can see on page 112, the author compares anatta teaching with David Hume's philosophy. Next.
And indeed, this was when the Buddha explaining that all high attain their enlightenment can become arahant.
So this is the result of the teaching. The result of which teaching?
The teaching of anatta.
Anatta. And earlier, so Kasana was reading another version of the first teaching.
Yeah.
So can you guess now what that would be? Anatta. The first one is Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. The second one, Anatta. Okay, page 100. I think you see. Yes, we jumped 99. After 99, we should go back to 100. Where we are now?
99.
That's where
There is no fifth.
Yes.
no fixed.
We can start here. Yeah, we can start here. Page 100. We can start from page 99.
Page 99 relates with the chain of the teaching of Bodhisattva.
99.
There are no fixed.
No fixed entities in the chain.
Okay, there are no fixed entities in the chain. Page 100.
This constant.
This constant self appraisal and attention to the fluctuation of everyday life induce a state of calm control.
Okay, look at the word she used.
Difficult word.
No fixed entity,
No fixed entity.
fluctuation
Yes. Fluctuations of everyday life induce
of
Everyday life.
everyday life. Every life. Constant.
calm control.
You can see this one, they are the same, they mean the same, and she's using different phrases and vocabularies to explain changes, what we say impermanence or anicca, fluctuation of everyday life. And when we see this, when we appraiser means to review appraisal. When you review this constantly, when you look at this constantly, meaning when you contemplate on this constantly, there comes calm control. Calm control. This is the state of mind. This is adi or samatha. This is panya. This is samatha. Calm control. Next.
But mindfulness, sati, led the Buddhas to a still more radical conclusion.
This is a more radical conclusion. We don't quite know what that radical conclusion is. I just read the first sentence, so you can look at the last sentence.
As the chain showed, every sentient being was in a state of constant flux. He or she was merely possessing of temporary mutual state of experience. And the chain showed every sentient being was in a state of constant flux. He or she was merely successing of temporary mutual state of experience.
Constant flux, constant fluctuation, no fixed entity, everything is the same. She's describing the same thing. This is the state of impermanence or nature. Next.
The Buddha has this message hold throughout his life.
So through 45 years of his teaching mission, he emphasized the same thing. Next.
The 18th century, the 18th century Scottish empiricist David Hume came to a similar conclusion, but with an important difference. Isn't he going to compare the Buddha with others' present teachings, David Hume? Like David Hume has
The
difference.
18th century. Okay. Next.
Anatta, like any Buddhist teaching.
Anatta.
Anatta, like any Buddhist teaching, was not a philosophical
Philosophical.
doctrine, was what primarily
Was
was
primarily
pragmatic.
pragmatic. So he's comparing Anatta teaching with David Hume. Next.
And indeed, it was when they heard the Buddha explaining anatta that all five bhikkhus attained their full enlightenment and became arahants.
Okay, but this is enlightenment. So what are the issues that you got from this reading? Just by reading the first sentences. And how many paragraphs you forgot to count? Thirteen. Okay, 13. She's talking about Buddhism in general terms, but she's also talking about Buddhism in a very precise manner. This kind of book is called introductory literature. So first, what did she talk about?
Four Noble Truths.
The Four Noble Truths. Okay. And realization of Gondanya. Okay. That's we can. This is Gondanya. Gondanya. What the realization come from here? Okay. And what else?
Another version of first teaching.
Another version of the first teaching. So this is the first part of the first teaching. So the second part was that. And where does it come? But it doesn't move back.
The recent formulation of the Dharma was
This come after another version of the first teaching.
what is break up 3 or 4? Four.
Yeah.
For
96 also.
So is here as Sabidasmupad 12 links. Okay, 12 links. This is Sabidasmupad. This is to display Anatta. What else? Next was the main issue. Okay, that's Buddha and Devishyu.
Comparative on Nanda.
Oh, nonsense. Okay, and next?
Come back to second.
What's the next paragraph?
Some issues in attention to fluctuation of the
What does it say?
This doesn't move back.
But it doesn't move further. Is it but it doesn't move further or is it impermanent? Fluctuations. Okay. That's impermanent. That's change. That's constant change. And what's the next issue?
Essential teachings of the Buddha.
State of calm control.
State of calm control.
Mindfulness.
She talks about, what does she talk about? Mindfulness. Calm control. That's calm control and mindfulness. What they are about meditative experience. Meditative experience. Meditative experience. Those two paragraphs. Meditative experience. Okay, after this one. What's next?
Essential teachings of the Buddhas.
Essential teaching. What's that? Essential
So the
teaching?
Buddhas focus on Four Noble Truths or independent organizations or other kind of thing like that.
Okay, number 9 paragraph is mentioned about mindfulness.
Yeah, on the page 101, the last paragraph is that the Buddha placed this message home throughout his life.
Okay, that's about his teaching mission, okay, and his emphasis. That means throughout his teaching, he taught anatta, Four Noble Truths, anatta. The next one, that's comparison. 102, 103. Again, anatta as pragmatic. Now here, meditative experience and pragmatic experience. And came enlightenment. So what do you guys got, please? You got that Karen Armstrong, the author, presents the Buddha's teaching here. Number 1, the Four Noble Truths. Number 2, number 3, Bodhisattva. This is what she talks about, the 3 important teachings. And of course here, when she talks about anatta, she also talks about
Fluctuation.
where is dukkha? Dukkha is C. So the way she talks about the 3 characteristics is that first, she brings up the Four Noble Truths in the first sermon, the Maccakkappavattana Sutta. Then anatta in the second sermon. In explaining the anatta teaching, she uses Bodhisattva to justify the process. By looking at Bodhisattva, what you see is anicca. So it goes like this. Then from here, this is a Christian nun, okay, talking about Buddhism. You tell her if you think she makes mistake. Now we have read just how many sentences?
14.
Just 14 sentences. And we got this big picture. This is what we say, efficient reading. You spend, if you read it yourself, okay, 14 sentences, it will take us about maybe 5 minutes, 7 minutes maybe. And she took maybe a few months to write this. To write and to check, to edit it. And you spend maybe about 10 minutes and you understand this is efficient reading. Okay, this is the Buddha and David Hume. Maybe she can do without this, but she is talking to Western audience who understand David Hume nonsense. I think somewhere she also compares Buddhism with non-Buddhist Indian religions. Somewhere. So now I give you another 5 minutes to read the first and the last sentence of every paragraph for you. like to draw your attention to tutorial teaching, the teaching system that we are going to use here. This is the Four Noble Truths that we have read. Okay, that we have read. We have read most of this. We didn't do this because I believe you all have read this book. And this is another book that we have not touched, but you got the message from our reading. This is the question on the Four Noble Truths. If I'm going to teach Buddhist, I'm going to teach a course on Buddhist philosophy, I have to come up with how many topics? How many topics? How many topics I need to cover Buddhist philosophy? For example, we intend to have 10 for each course. That's 10 weeks, 2.5. But we're going to have maybe one semester, about 3 months. So 12 weeks, we are talking about 10 topics. This is for 1 week. The teacher has to prepare questions for each topic. Okay, take note of it. The teacher has to prepare questions, not just one. Look, I give 2 questions, just to give choices. In Oxford, some teachers, they give 3 questions. The students have to choose one and write an essay on this. To do this, I gave reading from 4 books. Usually we give around 4 or 5. This is to cover within the week. Some perceive Buddhism to be pessimistic because it focuses on the experience of suffering. Analyze this in the light of the early Central Buddhist teachings. Or do you agree that Buddhism gives a bleak view of life by emphasizing suffering in its key teachings? Robert Gatlin. This is the book that we are going to use in this course. 1998, The Foundations of Buddhism. OUP is the press, Oxford University Press, UK, Chapter 3. Chapter 3. Number 2, Peter Harvey, 2013, an introduction. This is actually second edition. The first edition is Peter Harvey, 1990, an introduction to Buddhism, teachings, history, and practices. Cambridge University Press, UK, Chapter 3. Number 3, again, Peter Harvey, 2000, an introduction to Buddhist ethics. Cambridge University Press, UK. You have PP, this is page. If only 1 page, you put P. 2 pages, you have PP. 31 to 40. Barbara Rahula, 1958, What the Buddha Taught. Published by Gordon Fraser in London, chapter 2 to 5. 2 to 5. So this is an example of how you are going to prepare your lessons. How you are going to prepare your lessons. You can take this one. You can take this one home as a homework And you can write, you can choose one of these two and write 2,000 words essay. Words essay, 3% margin. That means 60 words plus or minus 3% margin. So, as a lecturer, you will have to read history, you have to do research, and you have to consider how many topics I need to cover the Buddhist history from the earliest time, and how much you're going to give the background knowledge in Indian religions. You have to come up with this. At some point, we're going to have a seminar so that we can show each other, and I mean for comments and criticism. You also need to read Pali literature, history and teaching, history, literature and teaching, language, history, literature, language, to cover all the three aspects. And then you have to come up with this kind of thing. But as a language, you also need reading class, where you read maybe 3 times a week, where you explain some grammatical points and guide them in reading sutras, and then ask them to do some translation. And the same with the Buddhist, that you need to do an overview of Buddhist meditation. Buddhist meditation, you have to come up with, okay, up to this point, how much literature we want them to read, and how many topics we need to cover the entire course. So you need to start reading and doing research on this. Remember, primary sources and secondary sources both are important. Both are important. And for the Buddhist sociology, you also need to start survey literature and then try to work on the topics. After each topic, you need to come up with this kind of question. And for each question, you need to give the reference to help students with exact page numbers. This is just for 1 week. The students have to read and produce the essay within 1 week. After they have sent you their essays, you check them and you ask them to present, to read his essays in the class. After that, you discuss. You encourage the student to discuss. The student, they already know the subject because they have read it. And your role is to guide them in their understanding, in interpretation, in reading, so that's your role, to guide them. But you are not here to give them information. That's the task of the library. You're not going to take over the library and start doing the task of the library. So there must be a clear distinction between teachers and library. In some institution, the teacher, they take over the job of the library, and they started collecting data and giving out information. So the student don't need to go to the library. But then the teachers don't have time to guide them. where he is only doing the library's job, he is not doing his job. So this is what we are going to do here. And side of me. So this is the tutorial teaching system we are going to use here. The role is to help them with their English, to check their essays before they send to their tutor, or if they need extra tuition, and to create private tuition here for each student, maybe 2 or 3 of them together, maybe one by one. You can use maybe something like this. You can look at this is a short summary, but I'm going to ask them, I mean here the study is going to be 2,000 essays. So you can look at their work and see their needs. Yeah, so this is just to give you some ideas. Yes, yes. Yes, yes. It's, I should tell you, it's an intensive study, an intensive teaching. And it's a small, yeah, and also small groups. Okay, small groups of students. It's not one teacher, 20, 30 students, it's not like this. It's about 1 to 4, no, maximum maybe 5. So it's going to be expensive in terms of time and energy. Need about 3 to 4 English tutors. So depend on your friends. One, three.
They are willing to teach you. Some are retired.
Yes.
I do. That's very simple.
Yes. Yes. We are just now talking about essay, right? Towards the end of the year, there will be dissertation time, which will take up more time. Thank you. Have gone through this process for 1 week. We will pay
What happens when we go through this situation? Kita semua
Nha.
most of them, yeah, most of this the activities in Sri Lanka. She has just done her in Thailand. He has got his PhD from Mumbai. He has his master to master in Thailand. He's doing his PhD in Sri Lanka. He's not studying his future. Future is doing his PhD. How we get my BA is admin. Only this one is big. Yes, of course, he's also staying in this way. He has just come from back from Sri Lanka. His master. This one. The English is much better. So you will have
เป็นมือลื่นอะไรภาษาไทย
rest.
สามครับ
You can put all here just to see that capital. Teachings as we have as teachings. Let's do practices. CUP. Foundations of Buddhism. OUP, also University Press. OUP. Capital U, Oxford University Press. OUP. Capital O, capital U, capital P. Rahula. Capital F. Phrase. R-A-I-S-E-R, prison.
Impermanent.
And what we did taught, full stop. This is a question on anatta. Is there any contradiction between the two concepts of Buddhist teaching? Non-self, anatta, and self-responsibility, karma. This is displayed, or how does Buddhism present the identity? There is no next verse. If it denies self, displayed. Reference Armstrong 2000, Buddha, chapter 4, Cambridge 2009, What the Buddha Thought, chapter 5, Harvey 1990, An Introduction to Buddhism, Teachings, History and Practices, chapters 2 and 3. Number 4, Cathy, 1998, The Foundations of Buddhism, chapter 3. Number 5, Rahula, 1958, What the Buddha Taught, chapters 2 to 5. So for each topic, you have to give exact quotation. And you know whether your student read them. When you read the essay, whether your student read them. And if you know they read, you also know whether they understand it.
Does it mean that before we give any topic, we don't need to give any class, we just give them topic and we just discuss with them maybe?
Usually there's no class before this. But if you think your students need help, you may have an introduction to the class. But if you do that, you should limit to giving guidance. You shouldn't be giving the information. Maybe you can do some kind of reading that we do here. Some kind of reading. To train them to identify issues and to connect many issues in the same chapter.
We have like each week, each day we have 2 courses. So if one we have for the student, we have 5 subjects. Each teacher give them one topic, one assignment for each. That is mean that do they have to write assignment,
Yes.
assignment for each
Yeah.
child?
Usually, at least one, we don't call this assignment. Assignment is a lot more than this. We just say this is a weekly essay. This weekly essay, this is one essay per week. This is minimum. And if we are going to do 4 subjects or 5 subjects and we have to spread out into 2 years, and we have to count the number of hours. If a student has done just a BA, they have only BA, then they should do 2 years course. But if somebody has already got an MA as well, and we can ask them to do maybe 1 year course. This means the student will do this kind of essay for two papers, 2 subjects, and then plus dissertation. This is a very intensive one. So if 10 topics per paper, if we talk about 4 papers, this 40 topics, 40 essays altogether. 40 essays, if you talk about 2,000 words per essay. So how many thousand words? 10,000 is 20, 10 essays 20,000. So 80,000. 80,000. The PhD is only 10,000. So our students are going to be very qualified. In addition to that, they will have a dissertation. So essays plus dissertation, they're almost equal to a PhD in some other universities. If our student graduate an MA from in this way, they can teach any BA courses in any university in the world, in Europe, in Asia, anywhere. They can do this. And as teacher, what you have to do is, before the student come, you have to prepare all this. As they come on the first day, this is the first thing you give them. This is the first thing you give. So you have to be that ready. So we have 9 months to prepare. And so you have to prepare 10 questions, 9 months. Just plenty of time. But you need to read. If you can produce 10 sets of questions for your paper, you're going to be an expert on your paper. I can tell you. Your student, for each essay, they read about 4 to 5 chapters. But here you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 chapters. One essay, they have to digest the information. If you talk about 7 chapters per essay, 10 essays, 70 chapters. 70 chapters is equal to 7 books. Roughly 6 or 7 books. This by the end of the year, your student will have digested about 35 books. On one subject, if you have read 35 books, you're quite good, just on the same subject. On Buddhist psychology, if you read, I wouldn't say 35, I would say about 12 books, a dozen, you're quite good already. Now we are talking average for 30 books. Bill Clinton studied at Oxford for 2 years. He read about 200 books.
How many subjects we are going to teach for the exam?
We can discuss. I think minimum about four plus dissertation. If we talk about four subjects, 10 each, 10 essays, so 40 essays. But if we are going to say 5 subjects, then we have to reduce the number of essays, 8. 8 essays, 8 multiplied by 5. The same, you get the same amount of essays.
Will there be also selective course, selective subjects?
Yes, we are going to give that. We are going to give that. So, Buddhist psychology and what's your subject? Religious study, Buddhist psychology, religious study, history, literature, meditation, sutta study, vipassana. So we may have a 7 on offer, and we can choose maybe about 2 of them as compulsory, and the rest optional. So some teacher may have just 1 student. That's okay. But we are talking just about the first year. The second year, you're going to have the same number of students coming in. Okay. And you will have to guide the student for their dissertation also. So there is a lot of work in this. But it's worth. You don't just produce degrees, you produce scholars. Some university, they just produce degree. A piece of paper, they just give it away. Very easy. So we won't be doing that here. Harvey. English name. Harvey. I hope by the end of May, when I come again, we have seminar. We have seminar on our courses just to finalize our courses by the end of May. So you have about 3 months. Okay, about 3 months to prepare your course. Maybe in the first year, the Kupandua, the Kupiti, and the Tunan Piti, you won't be teaching, but they can be part of the preparation. And you learn how we prepare the lessons, the guidance, and like that. And if you can get yourself ready for the following year, that would be wonderful. The Kupiti. Do you think you will be ready in 2018 or 2019?
No, I want to focus on the activity to complete soon.
That's very good. Very good.
Okay, I want 2 โมงไป40 นาที
So, any question about the teaching system that we are going to adopt here? I think,
So like in Bali,
yes.
they could focus on history of Pali literature, and also the history of Pali.
The history of Pali and history of literature, these are all essays. When it comes to language, it's about reading class. reading class and translation.
That's
Thank you.
During the course,
Ah.
shall I have like online courses for the lecturer to interact with the student through online?
I'm not sure if a student would be ready. Or I think it's good to start with the face-to-face teaching, the interaction first.
Nowadays, with easy, you can just use your Facebook to live, and your Facebook you can live to your student.
I'm okay that this kind of development that has been taking place. The thing is that where we don't know our student yet, and we want to be closer to each other physically, because we want to make sure that we are on the same page as we start, at least in the first 2 years. During my course, I should be here physically during my course. If the student, if they have done their first essay, I can see that and what kind of improvement is needed.
Suppose we have a high subject, so we give course class at the same time, or
Not at the same time.
put the Pali and history and we
Yes, that's okay. Pali and history, they can go together because they're going to work on language. That's okay. You have reading classes, and then once a week history class, one essay and one class. And Pali reading maybe 3 classes. If you have many classes, students, they don't work. They develop a culture of dependency. They rely on. Except what they want to ask them to read, they wouldn't read further.
I'm not sure if for some reason, for the other, like Pali literature is possible, like Pali language, is that possible to give them only on about 3 class and to get understand Pali?
Yes, it's possible. You see, usually in Burma, people taught young novices who have never learned any languages properly. But this is a student who have gone through a university learning system. So the brain is much developed. All the Pali grammar you can summarize in 1 page and give it to them. They look at this. They have to use the dictionary and have to look at this. Okay. If you give them okay, these are the same adjectives, and it's like this. It comes from this table, and you ask them to go and see to utilize. Our weakness in learning languages here in this country is that we don't use dictionaries. We don't know how to use them. Let alone compiling.
To learn that Pali in 1 page, I think I would like to learn from you first.
One more question. What's the major medium you're going to teach here?
Just English. Only English medium. Yeah.
So, you will provide e-learning in I study at physically or 40% is student and 60% is e-learning. So they also have between teacher and student they have daily plan. Some like Professor Charles William did not come in Thailand. He opened like Skype, and then they some the student present in Thailand?
The student have to be very advanced in order to benefit from that. The student will benefit more if they see the teacher face to face, handing in their essays on weekly basis. And this week, for example, I have detected 10 shortcomings in your essay. I focus on two. And next week, you only have 8 shortcomings. In 4 weeks, you will be writing a perfect essay. This is the benefit of being. If we have many students, maybe we can use e-learning. We can use that. E-learning is like listening to a lecture. There is less interaction. But here, in this kind of thing, if you have 3 students, 4 students, everybody writes an essay. And I have checked it. When you come here, you cannot remain silent. Everybody has to speak. Because 3 of you may have different conclusions. One may start with another using Four Noble Truths to explain that. The other may start with dukkha using the Paticcasamuppada to explain that. Another may start with the comparative study. So this kind of thing makes the class more lively. It's a mini conference every week. It's a mini conference. I know at IBC, Dr. Fajing is my friend. He is responsible for e-learning at IBC. Dr. Fajing, he graduated from Calgary University. He knows Pali, although he's from China. He knows Pali, he did his BA in Sri Lanka. Right? Any more questions?
Suppose
Human rights.
Human rights. Suppose we have 4 subjects for one student in 1 week, so student has to write 4 essays.
Just one essay. Just one essay. One subject, one philosophy subject, and one language class. One language course that can go on at the same time. And our students are not that. I don't expect the student to be that advanced. But advanced enough to do one essay every week. Yeah, in Oxford, some teachers, they press their students very hard, 3 essays.
So all the teachers don't have to teach all in 1 week?
Not in 1 week.
Have to separate.
If you teach in 1 week, it's going to be a teaching method. This is a learning method, learning technique. Students learn, they learn by themselves. They go to library, they say, so we give them time for that. The teacher is just giving guidance. I'm giving you guidance of how to study anatta. So you read this question, you go to the library to get this book, you start reading them with this question in mind. So students will be spending most of their time in the library. So we have one small table for each student so that they can work.
When students come to show their essay, and we have to come to the same time and discuss in class.
They hand in their essay 1 day prior to the class. 1 day prior to the class. Say, if I have 3 students, 3 of you hand in your essay, I check them. Tomorrow, I check them today, tomorrow we meet in the morning for 1 hour. For 20 minutes, 1 of you will read out your essay. That's a presentation. So the other 2 will hear your conclusion, your presentation. That will be the starting point of discussion. the teacher is not going to kind of monopolize the time. Our task is to encourage students to come up with their own opinion, to discuss like that.
We are not going to judge.
We're not going to judge them. They can come up with different their conclusion. That's okay. That's okay. Sometimes the teacher may challenge the student, why you come up with this question? Why you justify this statement like this? For example. So now you know what you have to do.
The marking system, how do we mark the essay?
The marking system, I'm going to ask PP and add also Dr. Crosby to come. I would like to have the one that we use in Oxford. I think they are better than me in this. I have marked some essays, but I think they are better, so I should have to train. And another thing is that okay, this is not just an example, okay? This is your homework. This is your homework. Hey, you should produce an essay. And when we come back in May, you should bring this essay. 2 essays. The earlier one is the Four Truth. This is another. After these essays, I'm going to ask my friends who are more experienced professors to come and train you maybe for 2 or 3 essays. 2 or 3 essays like that. So that would be the last training for you.
One thing is that when we write essay, we are reading the back, right? So do we have to put our opinion or we have to depend on the book?
First, you have to show that you understand the book. First, you have to show you understand the book, and then you can give your opinion. Remember, all knowledge and new knowledge. All knowledge is what is in the book. I think we can stop here. What else do I have? I don't have anything as graduation. I only have bookmarks from Oxford to give you. So you can come up and take this from me one by one.
Thank you.
This is from my college in Oxford, St. Anne's College, Oxford University. So all the best.
St. Anne's College, Oxford.
I would be professors.
Made from recycle, whole, poly, pro.
St. Anne's College.
Okay, I'm go.
Oxford University dress.
Do we have a class?
Brainstorming more also.
We can do brainstorm at 2 to 3, just 1 hour, just 1 hour.
Okay, I give it to you. Thank you so much. I have already.
จะพูดนั่นโตขาดอันนั้นว่ะแต่เช้านะยกที่แบบ
The last one, the last year's one.
ขาดกับอันขึ้นขาดที่แรกบอกว่า
So,
I did this with my sister. Yeah.
Cái đằng sau rồi bạn.
The giver is more happier than the receiver.
Lots of photos.
Photo session. Just a photo. Last session.
And one Okay, who else the presentation to presenters? Who is missing? Someone. The cookie participant.
Not presentation. Satu.
Sit now.
Oh, Siama's birthday. Yes. Everybody, what do Sapa Mangalam?
Sapa Mangalam Rakandu Sapa Devata Sapa Buddha Nupavena Sada Sukhi Bhavantu Te Bhavatu Sapa Mangalam Rakandu Sapa Devata Sapa Dhamma Nupavena Sada Sukhi Bhavantu Te Bhavatu Sapa Mangalam Rakandu Sapa Devata Sapa Sangha Nupavena Sada Sukhi Bhavantu Te.
CMIG is a graduate from Leeds University, England, so she is going to be part of our teaching staff here.
Not as a teacher, just as a facilitator.
Okay.
And equality, but they are late. See you in May. See you in May.
Yeah.